In this video, we look at the various requirements for immediately prior to building the book and the overall process. It's done using slides, it's not done using the live show, which is done in another video. So we're going to start looking at what you must do before building the book, and then we're going to cover the initiation of the book build sequence, and then the actual process itself, what comes in terms of feedback, and then what you get out at the end of the process. Before you actually build the book, there's a couple of stages that you really do need to make sure of before you actually start the process. One's the default printer and the other one's the actual printer settings, and we'll look at each one of those briefly. It's necessary to make sure that the default printer is the Adobe PDF printer, and that gets installed with FrameMaker 12 and some of the earlier ones, and certainly FrameMaker 2015. You must use this because the book build application actually interrogates Acrobat during the process, and it uses Distiller to create the PDF file, and there's quite a lot of post-processing occurs, and it's only Adobe Acrobat that we can actually interface with. It's also necessary to have the printer set up, the Adobe printer set up in the best way. And it's necessary to have the default settings set to a high quality setting. And there's a faults issue as well. There's a box on there which by default needs to be, it comes ticked by default, and you must remove that. Now, these settings are normally carried out by book build, but it's preferable to make sure that they are set up properly, because there are problems sometimes with access and security settings on some machines. So here we're showing the Adobe PDF printer settings window as the top one. And that first one at the top there should be set to high quality. Now, on some machines this comes as high quality brackets 1. The other thing that you must do is to deselect the rely on system fonts. If you don't do that, then you get an Adobe error which says it can't use the fonts for doing what we need to do. And all the other things you do perhaps is to go to the edit the settings and have a look and make sure they line up with what we've got here. It's fully described in the user guide. When you initiate the book build sequence, there are choices that you can make. You can carry out a build of the book on its own, and that just generates all the necessary files. And you can build and print to a single PDF file if you wish, and the other option is to build and print to multiple PDFs. In this option, each chapter is created as an individual PDF file, and some of our clients use this for updating a book rather than providing a complete book each time. So the process, assuming that we're going to be producing an output which is a single PDF file, the process is roughly as we've got it here. So it's initialize the document. This has been found to be a necessary step, and you can initialize this as a separate entity if you wish, but it is included in the main application process. So the application converts all the data modules to FrameMaker format. It imports them and saves them out as FrameMaker files. The next thing it does is, if you've got any multi-data module chapter files, then it takes all the individual FrameMaker files and creates a single chapter file from that. And then it carries out the cross-referencing process, then resolves references to other data modules, and then prints to a PDF file, and the post-processing is to add the PDF bookmarks into the system. So in fact, on that left-hand window of Adobe Acrobat, you do get those. You do get your bookmarks to take you straight to the areas that you need to get at. Early in the life of the book build application, we realized that it was necessary to provide a fairly comprehensive mechanism for feedback. And what we do here is to launch a log console. The thing to be borne in mind is that the contents of this console are also saved to a log file at the same time. So even if you don't want to save the contents of the console, they are actually there in a log file in the same folder as the book build file. The feedback is very verbose and provides a very good indication of the current position in the process, and it reports errors in the process, which includes things like missing files and references to data modules that aren't resolved. The situation regarding missing files, if there's a book file in the book that's not there, although it's referenced, the book build process won't go any further. It just stops. If there's something like a missing graphic, they're reported as missing, and provided you click on the necessary button, the standard window that comes up from FrameMaker, then it'll carry on building. The data modules in a publication make references to other data modules using the RefDM application. The unresolved links are declared in the log at the point at which they occur. And further down in the log, as it comes to it, when we reach the end of the RefDM process, there is a summary of resolved and unresolved links, just to make sure that you're happy with what's in there. The resolved links replace the data module code with the volume or chapter number, and unresolved links will retain the data module code that you had in there to start with. This is a picture of the log console showing the progress. This is right at the beginning of the process, and you can see that it says there how many files it's got, and what it's doing is checking to make sure that these files have been initialized. So each file is actually opened, and then BookBuild interrogates what's inside the file, and it checks for type, the layout, and it creates, at this point, it creates the FrameMaker file and saves it. It doesn't make any changes whatsoever to the S1000D data modules. And as you can see here, each file is interrogated to check what its issue is so that it can record it. And as mentioned previously, each of the references to another data module is interrogated, and if they can't resolve it, an error message is put in just like it is there. And when the major processing is complete, it starts the building of a book file. And you can see here that it sets the paper height and width in accordance with what it's been asked to do. The application creates a PostScript file, and once the PostScript file is completed, then that is sent to the distiller, which then converts that PostScript file into a PDF file. And as you might expect, the distiller application reports what it's doing and in its log window, and it actually also saves it as a log file. When it's got to the end of the process, it then reports the fact that it's finished the PDF file. At this point, all the bookmarks are in place, and the length of the time obviously is totally dependent on the machine itself and some of the features that we'll talk about later on. And the result of the book build process is a high quality PDF file. And using Acrobat Professional, it's possible to change the layout on open, lock the file with a password, and you can prevent copying and or printing. The other thing, of course, is that, as mentioned earlier, all of the cross-referencing is live, and they are hypertext links, with the exception of links to and from hotspots on the graphics. This is the end of this video, which has given you an outline of how the process works. We've created another video which is provided to demonstrate a live build, and it shows what's happening during the build process itself. There's also a video to show the process for starting a new issue of the publication. Thank you very much for watching.